Are we motivated?
Motivated, sir.
Are we good to go?
Good to go, sir.
Ajuwaya, 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 Ajuwaya.
Mora!
Hi!
Mapas we!
Wow.
Hello and welcome to this gripping episode of Ajuwaya of our Kalista Ekon. Terrorism is a recurring menace that has unleashed fear, trauma and disorientation on individuals and the Nigerian society. And on today's episode we'll be talking about terrorism. But we'll go on the break, and once we're back, the program continues. Thank you so much for staying with us. If you're just joining us, this is Ajuwaya of R, and we're talking about terrorism today. And right now, let's get to the Insight segment with Brendan.
Hello, good afternoon everyone. You are welcome to the Insight segment of the Ajuwaya Half Hour. I'm Brendan Amadi. The topic of our discussion today is on terrorism. From my extreme right is Oliver Ishiu, followed by Esther Emeka and Etienne Usoro. Terrorism, in its definitive term, can be seen as an unlawful use of violence against the human society, against citizens of any nation or any defined system of life. Usoro, please, can you air your own opinion on the term terrorism?
Thank you so much, Brandon. To add to what you said terrorism is an unlawful act of intimidating or causing violence, especially against civilians, and it's mostly in the pursuit of a political aim. And I think it's also safe to note that there are different types of terrorism. Terrorism can be domestic before it actually graduates into the national terrorism, which almost everybody knows.
Thank you so much for this point. Esther, say your own opinion on the term terrorism.
Okay, terrorism is terrorism first, and like she said, it's an unlawful act of violence, which means it isn't backed by law, which means the people who carry such acts are not in coherence with the law or the government of a given society. So terrorism is an unlawful act of violence with the intention of oppressing civilians, with the intention of oppressing the citizens of a given nation for political ambitions, which I believe are selfish reasons or whatsoever.
All right, thank you so much for your contribution on terrorism. Oliver, I believe you can throw more lights on the subject matter.
Thank you very much, Sir Brendan. I would say that terrorism is an act of terror over the people, over the citizens of a country, which instigates fear in them, thereby making them feel discouraged and not at peace. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for these definitions you all gave. Now, Etienne, amidst terrorist situations, what do you think a society can do, or how do you feel like, how can a society fall back to its ethical values?
Okay. First of all, I think before we answer that question, we need to understand what ethical values are. Moving away from individual values, ethical values in general is basically knowing what is morally right or wrong. And terrorism in all shades is wrong. I mean, I don't see a point or a point of view where I can look at terrorism from and see it as being right. So, as a society or as a nation, as we may put it, knowing what is good and wrong, knowing that terrorism is wrong, will make you understand that the fight against terrorism is not a one-man's job. It is a shared responsibility. It is everybody's business. So even in your homes, in your places of work, at home, maybe you notice suspicious movement around your house, please feel free to call on the Nigerian police. Maybe in your place of work, in your little capacity, maybe as a lecturer, please avoid taking bribe, because individuals make up the society. And this thing starts from one person. And this person decides to reciprocate the same act, and it keeps growing, and we keep going round in circles. So if we fall back on ethical values as a society, I think that in all honesty, we can, just maybe we can, call terrorists.
All right, that's a very wonderful opinion. And also you equally address the question, fighting terrorism is shared responsibility to all.
Yes, definitely.
That's very nice. Well, let's go ahead to hear from Esther on the way terrorism has affected international security.
Thank you very much. Security first is a core part of life. No one wants to go into a place where they are not sure of the stand of their life at that particular point in time. Nobody wants to go to a place where they are full of fear and uncertainties. It's very simple. If you're given, if you get the information of violence in a particular state, you wouldn't even want to go there because you've heard that something wrong is going on there. So I would say, in regards to international security, terrorism has really affected international security. People can no longer travel to certain countries because of terrorist activities. Okay, over the years, about 3 countries have ranked high, okay, on terrorist attacks. We have Afghanistan going with about 41%. We have Nigeria with about 9%. I think Iran on 4%. Now, you wouldn't want to go to Afghanistan for any reason. Nobody wants to die. I mean, who wants to? So terrorism has really affected international security. It has made people scared. It has made people insecure. It has made people uncertain of positive events. I mean, nobody wants to go to a place where it feels like their life is under attack or their lives are actually threatened. So terrorism has really affected international security in a bad way.
Okay, you are equally saying it has also endangered the movements of people in some nations being at the back of terrorism.
Yes.
Thanks so much. All right. I don't know, Olivia, if you wish to add something, or better say you can tell us more about the secessionist movement in Nigeria. Is there any moral justification?
All right. I'll give a note to that, because I'll start from explaining the meaning of secessionist movement. It's a movement whereby a group of people actually want to gain independence from a seceded territory or a state. The reason for the no is that it's thought to be a peaceful act. Yes, it ought to be a peaceful act. It's something that should be done by the citizens or whoever may be involved in a peaceful manner, because the goal is to have freedom. The goal is for independence. Yes, so that's all I can say.
Okay, thank you very much. And for your opinion on the secessionist movement, you know, not agreeing on the term because of, although the way people carry on such activities that endangers the society or the community. Also, in a way, I feel like the government, in a way of any country, in any states or any continent around the world that witnesses terrorism or, secessionist movement, It's also a call for them to look into what actually are these people looking for, what has emanated to such movements to curtail the violence than just telling it a no idea. Thank you so much for this wonderful opinion. Okay, I want to hear from you too, Oliver. Why is terrorism taking the place of war in most parts of the world today?
Alright, thank you once again. The reason is that a lot of countries do not want to engage themselves in war. Yes, when I mean they don't want to engage themselves in war, you know, war has to do with splashing of blood and all of that, the killings,
the waste of human life.
Yes, yes. So now, some countries will actually want to play a psychological warfare. Yes, instead of engaging themselves in war, they prefer to play psychological warfare over the enemy. So that's it.
Okay, that's a very nice idea. Talking on the aspect of psychology, because there is this popular saying that once, when the mind wears, it comes out to be an activity. Well, that's for the psychologists anyway. All right, fighting terrorism being a shared responsibility. I think I remember you have said something about that on the course of your reference to ethical values.
Yes.
All right. I move on to say, can either question being directed to you, Esther? Okay, can either conventional warfare or terrorism be justified according to a scale of movement? Yes, can terrorism be justified or conventional warfare by any scale of movement? Any scale of measurements, as the case may be.
Okay, terrorism and warfare should not be validated for any reason. I mean, why take a life you can give? It doesn't make sense. So it's a no for me, because I believe there are better ways to resolve disputes. There are better ways to achieve what you want without having to take another person's life. We should think. I believe whatever thing that would lead to violence is when you don't think about how to handle a particular situation. Let's look at domestic challenges at home. There are issues we have at home we can actually work on if we just agree and look for policies or set up something. Okay, I think Brenda, you should do this, Oliver, you should do this, and then there will be peace. But when we don't think, when we do not develop measures to curb certain evil doings or to bring good to the people, there's an outburst, and when the outburst is not controlled, you see people fighting, you see people instigating evil against themselves. So I believe violence of any sort, terrorism or warfare, is not valid, because you lose more than you gain. That's the truth, and it's not wise in any way.
All right, that's a very reasonable idea. No matter how we curb evil, evil is evil, and terrorism is unaccepted in any developed society. It's unethical. It lacks value to human life, and it has no value to any society who wants to grow much higher in development.
Yeah, I think I'll add to that. Truth be told, you cannot derive pleasure in inflicting pain
on the other person.
On the other person, because I believe before we carry out certain things, we should see it on two sides. What if this happened to me? What if my younger brother left the house and didn't make it home? Why would I want to take the life of another? I think it should be a calculated act. You don't do things you would end up regretting, or things you wouldn't want to do to you. The golden rule says, do to others what you would want others to do to you. And that rule plays in every sphere, in every religion, in every sector. It's a general rule. It's not just given to a particular set of persons to apply.
And also, to round up this, even when a particular set of people think achieving their so-called goal is through terrorist attack or setting a kind of an umbrella of discomfort to the other or to any human society. I think that's a very wrong opinion. Even if any society or any state, if you feel something are not going well, there are better ways issues to be addressed than involving in terrorism.
Yes.
Because if you look at many nations that have been affected in this, you discover that innocent souls end up suffering what they don't know, loss of life, loss of property, and inflicting pain.
I
on
mean,
people.
if we want to bring it back home, a very good example is what the former president of the country did, President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, when he did the whole amnesty thing for the Niger Delta militants. That was a very good example of trying to bridge the gap without using violence by reasoning with these people. Because, truth be told, terrorism springs up from different angles. It could be from operation. All you need to do is sometimes hear these people out. Okay, what is the reason behind your actions? Why are you doing this thing? Okay, we want to hear you. And then after hearing them out, it doesn't stop there, because sometimes you just hear these people out and then you do not take necessary actions. And most times you are in a place to do so, but you do not. You impede the decisions. You don't take necessary actions to solve these problems. So it feels like they just stopped, and that is all we always do. We talk with no solution. So I really appreciated what he did. He brought the whole amnesty thing, and I mean, you'll agree with me that to an extent,
he worked.
He worked.
And not only that, he was able to achieve that to a very greater high because he welcomed public opinion.
Exactly.
In a situation whereby you don't allow people to aid their view, you are running a dictatorial system of government. People won't talk. So when you subjugate them to face what they are facing, they go back
People
and
react in
wage
different
war
ways.
against governments. And this has been the cause of this terrorism. Thanks very much for your contributions on this terrorism, and we cannot end this discourse without hearing from each and every one of you the ways we can curb this terrorism or the suggestive way forward.
Okay.
I want to hear from the
Well, like I said before, I think I talked about shared responsibilities. I want each and every person to understand that we are all one in Nigeria. That is the moment you understand that we are one, maybe a lot of other things will make sense. And as such, we are fighting for one cause. We're fighting for oneness. We're fighting for peace. So if something is wrong in your vicinity, be the man in the mirror. Be the change you want to see in the society. It starts from you. You get it. It starts from you. It's not a one-person affair. It's not only for those sitting in governmental seats. Each and every one of us have a role to play. As a parent at home, teach your children to not be violent with their fellow kids in school. It starts from there, whether you like it or not. Some of these things grow with a child. Maybe a child does something, or maybe he bullies another child, and you do not caution that child. He grows with it. And it becomes a factor that affects the society at large when the child grows, because most times, they say, show me your friend and I'll tell you who you are. A child is in association with another person, and this person picks up a bad character, and the circle keeps going. And apart from that, when you finally see maybe some of these terrorist attacks manifesting, first of all, I'd like, before applying violence, I mean, violence shouldn't really be a go-to option. I feel like we should try to implore to humanity, because first of all, everybody is human. Try to talk things out, try to listen. From what angle are you coming from? What is your pain? How can we help? And please, when these people eventually open up, if they do not stop at that. Proper solutions. Make a change. That is basically it. That is, by then you can cope, if not all of it, but most of these things happening can easily be avoided.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay. I think the Nigerian police has a role to play towards curbing terrorism. I think I could recall a situation where I was told, I heard that armed robbers had invaded the street, and before the police could come, they were done.
Wow.
People died. Properties were stolen. Properties were vandalized. It was heartbreaking. I mean, you call the police and then police is coming when a woman is crying that her child has been killed. When somebody is crying that my house has been burnt down. I believe the Nigerian police has a role to play. They say the police is your friend. Well,
I mean, and that goes on to make people take laws into their hands, because the feel
Yes.
like you call the police and they
not
don't
coming.
respond.
Yes, so I need to
immediately.
do something.
So streets jungle
True.
goes
Jungle
into
justice
play,
goes
jungle
immediately.
justice, and then they take laws into their
Into
hands.
their hands.
All right.
Yes.
Not only the Nigerian police, I think any security agency that
No, definitely,
has
yeah,
direct
because-
enforcement on protection of life and citizens of the people should rise up to challenges. And I think for me, I see armed forces as, in fact, a response in distress.
Yeah, quick response.
Quick response to distress. So they should awaken to what they are doing. Oliver, make your own view on the ways we can curb this. A few words.
Okay, one of the ways is that I like to put the media
Okay.
in the middle. Yeah. The media has a lot of functions to actually carry out. One of them is that they should ensure that when they give out information to the masses, to the public, it will only be the information that will encourage them that yes, there will still be a positive thing in the future, that we can curb this thing. Yes, it shouldn't instigate fear in them. Yes, rather, the media should help, as we are just doing now, the media should help encourage the citizens of the country. I think it will go a long way.
All right, thank you so much for this opinion. In summary, once more, I thank you very much for your active participation and making your opinion known.
You're welcome.
Finally, from what you just said, just like the Ekan people of Ghana, is a branch of philosophy then that talks about the Ekan ethics. The normal Ekan will tell you that it does good for the accounts of human welfare, not because of what the tradition says. I think when we abide by wellness to welfareism or human welfare, we can achieve a greater height towards fighting this terrorist situation, both amongst ourselves and the society at large. Thank you very much, the audience there, for joining in this program. In case you just joined us now, we just discuss on the topic terrorism. Have a nice day. Bye.
We had different opinions of what terrorism is and how it can be curbed, and this brings us to the end of today's episode of Ajuwaya FR. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't miss the next episode of Ajuwaya FR, as we're going to bring to you mind-blowing episode. Goodbye.
Are we motivated?
Motivated, 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 sir.
Are we good to go?
Good to go, good to go, good to go, sir.
Ajuwaya, 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 Ajuwaya.
Mora! Mappers we!